China has been in expansion mode and the prime focus of Beijing has been to capture landmass. However, it seems that the expansionist dream of China is going to meet its fate. Hi and welcome to TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Piyush, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI English channel yet, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. Coming back to the story, I am here to tell you how Adani is planning to kick out China from Israel. China's President Xi Jinping in November 2012 had first mentioned his Chinese dream philosophy on his domestic tour to the National Museum of China. Defining the Chinese dream, Xi Jinping called it a great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. The rejuvenation is often reflected in the imperialist policy of China, in which the paper dragon tries to revive the cultural, political, military, and economic dominance in the world. In its dream to revive the Chinese might, the Communist Party of China has played its biggest bet on the ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. The BRI, involving railways, highways, and ports development, is an effort to revive the ancient Silk Route of China. But bullying behavior, unrealistic policies, and debt diplomacy of China have kept the Chinese dream a dream, and India has been the prominent factor in ensuring this fate. Gautam Adani, chairman of Adani Group, on Thursday announced that he has won the tender for the privatization of the port of Haifa in Israel. In his statement, he said, "Delighted to win the tender for the privatization of the port of Haifa in Israel with our partner Gadot. Immense strategic and historical significance for both nations. Proud to be in Haifa, where Indians led in 1918 one of the greatest cavalry charges in military history." Winning the bid for the port of Haifa is considered to be one of the biggest strategic victories of India against China. In June 2019, Israel signed a 25-year contract with the Chinese port management company called Shanghai International Port Group for the building and operation of the Haifa port. Considering the geographical location, the Haifa port is strategically located in the Mediterranean Sea and holds the key point regarding trade in Europe. Since the allotment of the contract of Haifa port to China, the relationship between Israel and the US has been critical. Due to China's military-civilian integration policy, the security architecture of every project became vulnerable, and considering the American presence in the Haifa port, espionage was the real threat. Retired US Admiral Gary Roughead, speaking about the security ramification of the project, said the Chinese port operators will be able to monitor closely US ships' movements, be aware of maintenance activity, and could have access to equipment moving to and from repair sites and interact freely with our crews over protracted periods. So, by controlling the management of the port of Haifa, China was not only controlling the business of the port but also keeping eyes on both American as well as Israeli movements. Considering the security pact between US and Israel, it was very imperative for both countries to get rid of the Chinese investment in the region. The bid to push China out of Haifa was officially started by the US, but China itself wrote its downfall by commenting on Israel in its fights against Hamas. In the 2021 war against Hamas, China criticized Israel. Beijing not only criticized Israel for its successive attacks on Hamas, but also co-sponsored the UN Human Rights Council's decision to establish a commission to investigate Israeli violations in the occupied Palestinian territory and asked Israel to restrain its hostilities against Hamas. The ousting became possible when an Abraham Accord was signed between Israel and the Arabs, and a new grouping named I2U2 with countries involving India, Israel, UAE, and US was formed. The coming together of the four countries supported Israel with an alternate option of the port management in the form of Adani and ensured that China stays out of the Mediterranean. The other Israeli port under the control of China is the Ashdod port in the south, which is planning to build a railroad from Tel Aviv to Eilat. In 2014, China Harbor Engineering Company won a $950 million tender to build the Ashdod port, and under the Israel-China Corridor project, China is planning to connect the Eilat, a port in the Red Sea, to the Ashdod port in the Mediterranean Sea. The plan is to bypass Suez Canal for its trade to Europe and complete the Chinese dream of economic expansion. but China's dream remained a dream and Adani kicked China out of Haifa and is in the process to oust Dragon from other Israeli projects.